You were raised by narcissistic parents. When you were younger, did you ever feel like, if I just did this better, then I could make my parents happy? Or did you find yourself constantly striving to find the secret formula to somehow make them happy and to somehow have some kind of normalcy in your childhood? And did it create in you this sense of, if I'm not perfect, then I'm not good enough? Almost like these two polarized ways of seeing yourself. Do you feel like you battle loving and accepting yourself even when you make mistakes, even when you don't measure up to what you would like to measure up to? If that's your case, then you're going to want to watch this video. For those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach. I'm also the founder of the Thrivers School of Transformation, which is a monthly membership where we work through the side effects of complex PTSD and narcissistic abuse together, live on Zoom. I'll leave the link here for anyone that wants to check it out. So what I'm talking about today is being perfectionistic. And it really is something that's super common if you had narcissistic parents. But I want to kind of put the blame where it belongs, okay? When it comes to children that are raised by narcissistic parents, the reality is that they learn very quickly that anytime they're being themselves, anytime they're showing authenticity, or they're having their own feelings or sharing their perspective, and it's different from the narcissist, they're punished for it. So they quickly learn that it's not safe to be themselves. And if you relate to that, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, but you have this sense of being me is not safe. And at one point, you may have known like, there's something wrong with my family. Like, it might have gone through your mind, or you realized that it's not you, it's them. However, the consistent, chronic abuse and stress and manipulation, somewhere along the line, you began to internalize the blame as if it is your fault. And children do that as a coping skill, okay? Because for a child, no young child can take care of themselves. Their survival is dependent on a caregiver. So imagine if your caregiver is rejecting you, is not a safe person to be around, is not someone you can trust. Imagine what that would feel like for a child to be in the care of that kind of a person, a malignant narcissist. Well, a coping skill that children have, right, at the thought that their survival is on the line, rather than viewing their parent as unsafe, they internalize it as if it's their fault. And the reason it's a coping skill is because it gives the brain something to do that makes it feel like it's doing something that can help. So what the brain starts trying to do, or trying to help you with, is to solve what's wrong with you, or to work on the things inside of you that are causing your parents to be unhappy. And you're constantly bettering yourself, trying to better yourself, trying to find what makes them happy. It gives the brain something to do so that it doesn't look at the reality that your survival is on the line. And maybe it's not your physical survival, but it is 100% your emotional survival. Okay. But again, a small child can't process that. So the child starts getting really preoccupied in trying to be better and trying to change and morph into whatever it thinks that the parent wants to make that parent happy and to make that parent accept the child. Unfortunately, because with a narcissistic parent, you can yank your personality inside out. You can bring the moon down to them and hand it to them, and they still won't give you credit or give you that love and acceptance, especially if you're the scapegoat. Okay, so what happens is your inner self, instead of blaming your parents, because that, again, that's too overwhelming for a child, your inner self blames you. And that's when that harsh inner critic is born that condemns you, that causes you to reject yourself, that causes you to abandon yourself, that causes you to hate yourself. Because that's what the narcissistic parent was doing to you, and now it's been internalized. And again, so by blaming you, your brain is trying to keep you busy in solving the problem, which is a problem you can't solve. So that creates a child that never sees anything good in themselves unless they're perfect. Fast forward that child to adulthood, and that now adult child of narcissistic parents battles perfectionism. They can't be happy with what they do unless it's perfect, which nothing ever is, right? That's like me beating myself. If I were to beat myself with my inner critic because I'm not perfect, that would be like me beating myself because I don't have wings to fly, right? Like I don't have wings to fly. To beat myself would be absolutely ridiculous because I'm just not made to fly. Well, guess what? Not one person on this earth is made perfect right now. So to beat ourselves over something that is out of our control doesn't make sense. However, that perfectionism is ingrained inside because that child was constantly striving to find that secret formula. That child was made to feel like if they weren't perfect, life would be over. That's what it felt like to that child. So anyone that's battling that is suffering, okay? Because when you're a perfectionist with yourself, you are always letting yourself down because just like I don't have wings, right? I can't fly. No one's perfect. And so when we're not perfect, our harsh inner critic beats us over and over with harsh words like, I hate you. Look at you. You're so worthless. No one could ever love you. Everyone hates you. Everyone's going to reject you. You're not worthy. You're not enough. And that's where that suffering comes from. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because today in the School of Transformation, we were talking about social anxiety, and we're talking about that inner critic and how it comes online, right? We're talking about perfectionism. And I loved something that someone said. She's like, I strive now to be imperfect. And it reminded me of something I did years ago when I was like 19, 20 years old. And I was in a situation where there was a lot of public speaking. I was a perfectionist. So I was constantly leaving every one of those meetings hating on myself until I was like, you know what? I'm going to get involved in the public speaking and I'm going to make mistakes. And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to stutter over my words and this is going to happen. And the more I strove to be imperfect, which sounds ridiculous, but that's what I had to do as a perfectionistic person at that time. I strove to be imperfect, which guess what, was super easy. Then I gave myself credit for it. And it really helped uproot that perfectionistic thinking, which is always accompanied by that harsh inner critic that's just ready to bash and put you down. So I want to share this as a tip, okay? If you're battling perfectionism, or if you're battling a harsh inner critic, which usually it goes along with perfectionism because you're beating yourself all the time for not being better or for not being more than you are. If you start giving yourself permission to be imperfect, permission to make mistakes, okay? Because making mistakes doesn't mean that you are a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. And if you start treating yourself with the compassion that you deserve, you can then override that harsh inner critic, develop a compassionate dialogue that helps you to break free of the limiting beliefs, thoughts, and feelings that accompany being raised by narcissistic parents. And if you need help and you're struggling in this, next month in the Thrivers School of Transformation, we're going over reparenting. We're going to take the whole month and talk about reparenting and how we can reframe the past self-parent in the present so that we can allow our life to go in the direction that we would like it to go. So if that's something you think you can benefit from, make sure you check out the link here.